Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
You disgust me.
Who gives a shit?
Go on.
I made it the fuck up. And it. And it. And it. And it. And it is glorious! And I run.
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. It's good to see you again.
Hello.
Hi, Ironcaster.
Hey.
I may be slightly impaired during this stream tonight, because I have Franziskaner.
Oh, I thought you were huffing paint like I was.
No. Besides that, even if I was huffing paint, it's the nice non-toxic acrylic stuff, not the enamels. Which that would definitely used to get you high because you had to use like mineral spirits and paint thinner and stuff like that to get that stuff off your brushes.
Oh, that explains why I'm not getting high.
Yeah. I mean, you can even like lick the paint, or if you're like me, you can actually mistake your paint water for your coffee cup. And I accidentally put my brush in my coffee cup at one time with my coffee still in it, so I got to wondering why my coffee tasted like alizarin crimson orange, or red. But
I can't say I've done that, though. I have wound up dropping off little bits of the coney sauce into my water,
Ew.
so I got to have hot dog flavored water.
Ew. That's just nasty. I mean, ew. Okay.
Cue the Limp Bizkit.
Yes, indeed. That is exactly why people who chew tobacco have nearly gone extinct. Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. Well, not to gross you out too much, but I did mistake one of my uncle's spit Coke cans for Coke once when I was little. It was not good. Just gonna say that now. But anyway, all right. So we have some fun stuff today. I thought we would have some more panelists, but Daniel's gonna go hide over there in the chat. So okay, I see you, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
He had a good video premiere today too, by the way. But why don't we start off with a little something funny, shall we?
Let's.
All right. Wait a minute. Have I done this one already? I may have done this one already.
This is not a human. It's a robot.
Can you fuck it?
Excuse me?
Can you fuck it?
No.
Moody.
That's always
Yes,
the first question.
This was the nightmare-inducing bit of, disbelief.
A little bit. I mean, it's like I don't think anybody could mistake that for a human because the uncanny valley was just a little bit too much. But anyway, okay. So we started off with that, and let's run right into some of this because this has got some salient points to talk about here.
Body type made woke squeal. Queer kneel, how do you feel? Your asshole about to need ice cause you're bent over trying to conceal a 10-year-long mistake by transgenders disgraced. If you like this, get it on tape cause this woke shit's getting erased.
Okay. So yeah. Yeah. The old Elder Scrolls modding community and the in-game setups where they did the body type changes and they did the actual figure changes and things to, diminish the male gaze. And then they changed the character appearances. I will say they look better than the original models, but having said that, the ones in Skyrim still look way better.
Well, the challenge there is trying to thread that needle between wanting to just kind of do an update to the game and not wanting to outright completely, remake the game. I mean, that's why they call it a remaster. So you're not gonna get the best of both worlds, though you are getting actually somewhere in between there.
Yeah, but they're going to charge me, like full on Skyrim brand new edition prices for it, though.
True, but I mean the original is still there. And by the way, if the Microsoft leaks are to be believed, we just based on the sheer success of this game, we should be expecting Fallout 3 remaster.
Man, nothing would make me happier than a Fallout 3 remaster. I have begged, I have pleaded, I have cried for it. And if they remastered New Vegas, that thing would sell like mega bonkers.
And it is going to do insanely well. I mean, just based on just how popular this is. This is a 20-year-old game that got a remaster. People have been using the soundtrack music from this game for like the last 5-10 years at least for YouTube videos. This game has been so seeded into the zeitgeist that it's really no surprise that this has been as successful as it was. For my own personal taste and preferences, I wish they would have done Morrowind first because it's the older game of the two.
Maybe it would be a little bit more difficult for them to do Morrowind. I don't know, but I'm glad this one got a remaster because I'm one of those guys that I played Morrowind back when it was new, so that was kind of like the limit of graphics capability. So I enjoyed it for what it was, and then I got Oblivion, and I only got to play it just a little bit before other games came along, and I just completely, did away with it. And then finally trying to get back to it a few times after playing Skyrim, it was like, ew. So the remaster actually makes me want to get through this game now. So that's a good thing. But yeah, Fallout 3 remaster. Oh my God, please.
Plus, I mean, just looking at the success of this game, looking at Bethesda's track record, give it about a year and we'll see the creation club worked into this, and then it's going to turn into just a massive economy that is going to turn around and keep generating them passive income as people do paid mods.
Yeah, there is that. Okay, Daniel, you say you think it's a false advertisement to call it remastered if it's not the exact same with better graphics and controls. It is the exact same with better graphics and controls. The only difference between this and the old one, as far as the controls, is you no longer have to swing your mouse around in order to swing your swords. It's just automatically push button. And the way you get XP and stuff for things is a little different. It's a little bit more janky, I think. But it still has the old jank from the original. So it's, including the voice lines and everything else. And it does have some silly stuff in it too, like me being a level 1 character and becoming the arena champion just because, bow, very, very good. And, stealth assassin build, like, still superior. But shall we continue?
Yeah.
Ubisoft said you should get used to not owning games. Then they hit him with that gay and lame. Big chin, flat chest, always AAA, nerf femininity. Pirates won't pay Jesus Christ. I'd rather play Rivals. Uzumaki Marathon.
Ugh. Yeah. I mean,
so
I think
up until this game launched, I had never even heard of this game, but my God, these characters look hideous.
I mean, okay. I knew Marathon was coming, and I was kind of excited for it. And then I started seeing what the in-game graphics and art style look like. And, I'm sorry, it just looks like trash. I don't know who put this together, who thought of it, who concepted this, but they I mean, it's too artsy-fartsy.
And that's part of the bigger problem is that you have, frankly, too many games that are all trying to do this, as you have all these similar types of designers and developers that are all trying to, do the same sort, a similar sort of putting their mark on the games industry, as they all seemingly want to try to elevate it to a higher art form.
Exactly, Basquiat color and design.
Yeah, exactly. And so they just fail. Meanwhile, dumb games like Vampire Saviors, like a game that some dude made out of a love of Castlevania, and he sells for like $3. Winds up being one of the best-selling games of the last 3 years.
And I've got one to show you as well. Okay, Daniel says, I don't remember Type 1 and Type 2, but there are plenty of remastered, rewritten games. Yeah, the Type 1 and Type 2 thing is a new addition. Like I said, they made some changes to certain things in the game, which I'll be honest, I really don't care about the Type 1, Type 2 thing because I think I first experienced that on old Japanese JRPG stuff, so it didn't affect me all that much. I was kind of like, okay, it's no big deal. Because, like, some of those customizable wrestling games and things like that, you had particular body types like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or A, B, C, D, E, F, and one of them definitely looked more femme than the others, despite being muscular. So,
but also there's a difference though. That's because they would have a bunch of different body types, and when they literally mean the different body types: a slim guy, a medium guy, and a big guy. And the same for women. Whereas here, it's just trying to pander to a certain subsect of politics to play into what ultimately boils down to the same, ironically, binary choice.
Yes, I mean, I'm not going to get into trans bashing or anything like that because that's not fair. But generally speaking, I try to reduce it to just the obvious flaw of this idea at face value. Yeah,
nothing beyond that, because everyone just got their own thing, and who am I to say on a lot of that stuff? But
exactly.
you try to push this, you try to force this on me, try to force me to play along with it. And some things just ain't quite, lining up right. Some things just seem a bit weird with the proposed suggestion.
Yeah, and I think Savo's right. It's deliberately reducing sex to cosmetics because, women are women. The intent of Type 1 and Type 2 is a Marxist deconstruction of language. It isn't just about trans ideology. Magnificent Devil, as always, who should be on this panel because he's awesome and he's always insightful, but always a good audience member, bringing out the best in us. And you know what? The beer's giving me kind of the hiccups, but anyway. Shall we move on?
Yes, because I think I'm gonna have nightmares if we look at this thing anymore.
Yeah, well, don't worry. I'm sure I can find some more nightmare fuel for you.
For the Spyro, slurp, slurp, slurp. That's the sound of a pretender. They said drop the price, but sold out at all vendor.
Yeah. Dash and I had a long
out at all
this.
Ben.
Yeah.
It is a frustrating thing. I'm not surprised at all to see the initial bit of them are all sold out. For one thing, yes, we have the diehard Nintendo fans, the Nintendo drones that will blindly buy anything that has the big N on it, that has that Nintendo seal of approval. And I say this as someone who is a bit of a recovering Nintendo fanboy myself. I bought the Wii U, I bought a Switch, even though I hardly use it these days. Hell, I bought Wii Music back in the day. I'm certainly one of those people that I'm certainly one of those people that should be speaking up about this. It's not a surprise to me to see that yes, people are going to buy this, but also scalpers with all the bot buying.
The bot buys. Yeah. I think a lot of these are being picked up so they can be resold on eBay. So we'll see, though. I mean,
Triggered need attention from a hetero offender. Somehow, man.
Okay. Schedule 1. I actually picked this up, and I've been playing it, and it is actually kind of fun.
See, I don't know much about this game beyond you make and sell drugs.
Yes. Okay. So the premise is basically you're a weed grower, and the place you started out in gets busted, and the guy who was financing you, who's basically like your uncle, it ends up getting sent to the Fed. You have to start all over in a brand new town, and you have to start with very little, except for whatever money that your uncle squirreled away for you. But there's a lot of systems in place, like you can pick up garbage and throw it in recycle cans and stuff like that for spare money. Sometimes you can, you have to build up a customer base, you have to build up a lab and all this other stuff to grow your product, and it's actually pretty complex little game, and I don't think a whole lot of people were involved in making it. So for what they did, I mean, yes, the graphics are not going to win any awards for anything. They're not. Just they don't look that great. But the game is actually kind of fun. The physics engine has, physics engine jank. So
on the subject of graphics,
yeah,
to pull up to kind of go circle back around to Nintendo, that was always the biggest cope. That was always the biggest argument to say, like, graphics aren't everything, and that it's all that matters is ultimately it's a fun game. And really, that's
true,
also
though.
it's also in a way the biggest crutch of, say, for example, Sony, where everything they do is try to be hyper photorealistic. And so they have to, like, every 3 or 4 years remaster those games to make sure the graphics still look cutting edge. But the thing is, a lot of those games just frankly don't have that style and substance to them. One of my favorite PS2 era games that's super stylized, Sly Cooper.
I don't remember that one.
Oh no! Oh, hang on. Let me pull up an image for you, because it's a great little stealth game where you're playing like a little anthropomorphic raccoon, run around the city, run around some stages to go and steal treasure.
Right. I don't know if I can pull it up while I've got the video going, though.
Oh,
so we'll have to look at it afterward. But yeah, honestly, Schedule 1 is not bad. It's not horribly priced. It's kind of fun. I mean, if you just kind of pretend that you're Walter White, you can have a good time with it. I'm only very early on in the game, so I can't tell you, like, if there's shooting and all that other stuff later on in the game. I just know that most of it involves selling dope to people and building up your customer base by giving away free samples and then growing specific strains for specific people's moods and getting more money and getting better offers and more technology and stuff. And it ain't bad for what it is. It really ain't bad. So I would give it a recommend. If you just want something to do that's, different than your usual, 42-hour role-playing game or something. Anyway.
At Kyle, because there's only 2 genders.
Yeah. You used to be able to choose between male and female main character, but now you can't choose between a man and a woman anymore. Yep. Dragon Quest.
Put that on ice. Put it on ice. Put that on ice.
And yes, this was from Kyle, a much bigger YouTuber who we love dearly because he is so funny and he is so insightful. So go give him a sub, tell him T-Shirt Historian sent you, and give him some love too if you like. Maybe one of these days he'll do a collab with us because that would be awesome as hell. Imagine having Kyle in here.
It would be fun.
It would be super fun. All right, so on to something that... What?
Do you want to see that Sly Cooper?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Show it to me.
Yeah. So this is one of the old TV commercials for you, but this is how you would get to experience some of these things for the first time.
I had a PS and I don't remember this. But then again, this was not my type of game. I was too busy playing Resident Evil and every fighting game that possibly could have been brought out on the PS1. Which, to say, was a lot, especially if you lived in Japan.
Little stuff to do you good.
Sly Cooper, he's one cunning, devious raccoonus. Rated for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, that would just be the, the simple premise. It's like, oh, you're a raccoon, you're sneaking in places, you're stealing stuff. I mean, it's like a Fabulous Ultima character, practically.
Yeah, there we go. Well, okay, on to some something that's kind of current. So I did it this week. I sat down and I watched episode 3 of The Last of Us season 2. And I gotta say, it was a very slow episode. It was a very dull episode. And not surprisingly, according to Bleeding Fool, The Last of Us viewership scores cratered after Pedro Pascal's character was killed off. Which we all kind of saw coming.
And the bigger issue is there's this big assumption that these shows are all going to be really successful because they're not afraid to kill off their main central characters. I mean, this is still some effect of this is still a bit of the Game of Thrones effect.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is some of that. That's actually what they quote the Game of Thrones effect, but their audience score dropped to 52% after 54. So, and Grace Randolph came out publicly and said that she won't be watching any more of it because she thought that Abby wasn't that violent or she wasn't that cruel in the game. And I'm just kind of like, you obviously never played that.
It really doesn't surprise me.
No.
Well, plus, she would have given the show a 10 out of 10 if it meant she could see John Cena in his tighty whities.
Yeah. But, anyway, I got to say that I was kind of uninspired by that third episode. I mean, basically all it is how do I even put this? Okay, Ellie first getting psychoanalyzed by the hateful psychotherapist who didn't like Joel to begin with, and she basically gives Ellie a clean bill of health when it's obvious she knows she was full of shit.
What is it with the obsession with trying to make sure every character these days is sorry, I'm trying to think the right word. Was it with every character these days really just being a way to push on this message about mental health? Because for everything we're seeing with like the new Thunderbolts movie, like every bit
depression.
of that is gonna be all about depression, all about mental health, and it's like, no, I watch these shows to escape it. Like I feel sad, so I want to watch these shows to feel good. Like, why do we have to watch our characters feel sad? Why do you want to remind me about how horrible my life is?
Exactly. It's like, I already suffer from depression. I really don't want to watch a bunch of other people struggling with it too. So, but yeah, she, basically tries to get the, what's left of the town to, take up arms and go after the people who killed Joel. And of course, everybody kind of says, no, we got to sit here and rebuild. They only killed like the one person, otherwise, our whole town got attacked by zombies. And so we got to rebuild and do all this other stuff. And so, of course, she sets off like a little renegade and people help her get started on her little mission along with Dina, who, is her love interest, best friend, whatever you want to call it, and go trying to find Abby and her group. And at the end of the episode, we see that the Abby's group is actually like a massive army with like tanks and jeeps and all this other stuff. And I'm just kind of like, you don't have a hope in hell. What's that look about?
I'm just still kind of frustrated over the whole therapy push.
Yeah, it was stupid. The show is stupid at this point. I mean, what gets me is the fact that they thought they would get away with the exact same thing that pissed off all the gamers and turned them off of their game, and they still did it. And I'm just kind of like, the definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over, and every time it fails, you continue to do it over and over and keep wondering, what is it? It's going to work this time.
Well, it's not the fact that they were wrong. It's those pesky gamers, the paying customers that were wrong. They didn't enjoy the game right.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah. They want to make sure they have a place after the apocalypse. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, I don't know what kind of an apocalypse we're going to end up having at some point, but I just hope I'm not around to experience it because, I just don't. I don't have any
Well,
time
I
for that.
mean, based on what we're seeing with all the Reddit news, we're probably basically looking at the dead internet theory.
The what?
Dead internet theory. Did you not hear about the Reddit story?
No, I missed that one.
Okay, so there were some experiments done where a bunch of AI was being used to write comments on Reddit to push certain political messages, and nobody picked up on it.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. The University of Zurich or something was doing that, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't know what to say on that, but let's turn it over to some gaming for a minute. This is something really quick I wanted to bring up. And please, when I say this, y'all out there in the audience, please understand, I am not shitting on this company. I'm not. I'm absolutely not shitting on this company. It's not the only company that does this. It's just a question I've always wanted to ask gamers out there. And since I have some gamers out there listening, there's at least 10 of you out there watching. I want to know. So let me share screen so you guys can see this too. Jaboop. All right. So this is Norse Foundry, and it's a good company. Okay, once again, not shitting on the company. I'm not. But they are not the only people who sell dice sets. And granted, I'm a little bit of a dice goblin, but I've kind of grown out of it because now I have more dice than I actually have games to play. And since nobody else is
my feet are literally resting on like Milwaukee pack out boxes I keep full of dice because I had to go to the hardware store to buy storage for my dice.
Well, see, the thing is, it's like, I would get all these really cool dice and stuff like that show up at the table and nobody looked at them and nobody cared. So, and there were 60 and 70-year-old guys sitting around there playing with me that still had dice, that weren't made out of, hard plastic and all that. They still had the edges rounding off and everything. So I was kind of like, okay, well, this is obviously like a competition that I've mastered and can easily win if I just want to show up at the table and have the best looking dice, but nobody gives a shit. So it's kind of like, maybe winning the Special Olympics. But
look, I'm there with you. I've got a couple of special sets of dice. In fact, I just bought, one of the ones I got the other day were these little kind of really fancy ones that have liquid core.
Mm-hmm. Those look so cool, but I just don't know what I would do with them. The liquid core ones.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wanted to take a look at some of these because some of these in particular have quite the price tag attached to them. And I understand these are made out of precious stones, like amethyst. That's not a cheap little rock. But
I'm looking at that. I'm looking at that D4 there, and it looks, and that little crack through it.
That makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't want to roll these because it looks like if that thing falls off the table because I missed, or a friend of mine had to borrow an extra D4 because his monk flurry of blows needs 12.
And
then he misses. No,
that's my conclusion too.
They're a fancy gift to give to a loved one that is into something like this, and you want to spend a little bit more on them.
Mm-hmm.
But I could not see buying something like this for myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I am of two minds on this. One, you either saved up a whole bunch of money and you bought one of these sets to use, or you have enough money to burn that a $90 set of dice is not a big deal. Because the fact is, it's like if I bought a $90 set of dice, I don't think I'd use it very much. I'd be afraid. But I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know what the audience thinks about this. I mean, they look really nice. They have a nice wooden case. And again, not shitting on the company. If you like this kind of thing, by all means, give them your business because they're a good company, Norse Foundry. But, it's just kind of like I can't afford that kind of thing, especially not now. But, like I say, if I ever win the lottery, there will be signs. Now, I do like these $35 metal dice sets, because my understanding of metal dice is they don't have any air hole imperfections inside like plastic dice, and so you're guaranteed you're going to get a better roll out of these things, especially the ones made out of like aircraft aluminum and all that. And these look sweet, and for $35, it's still high for a set of dice, but
At 35, I could tolerate that. I could accept that.
Yeah, because they're made of metal.
Yeah, and I probably wouldn't want to go dice goblining for a bunch of $35 dice sets.
Mm-mm.
If we're talking 20, 25, then we're in the right running for me. I'll happily go buy them from D&D Dice or some stuff from Q Workshop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Q Workshop's very nice. I remember buying their dice and thinking, God damn, these are expensive, but they are nice.
Although I think my favorite set by far right now is actually a Q Workshop set, and of all people, it's the Seth Skorkowski set. His dice are fantastic. They are perfect to read. I don't have to like squint or look at them and say like, well, what is that? It's like, no, the guy was on the money with the right color, that ivory to him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. My only misgiving about this, one of the gaming tables I used to sit at, the house owner had this really beautiful, nice marble table. That we used to play on. And one of the players had a set of metal dice like these, similar, not this exact set or anything, but similar to this. And they would just fidget with them and roll them over and over and over. And it would just clunk on that table. And I was just, every time he did that, I cringed. And I was just thinking, man, I wonder what the house owner thinks about that. But I figured if you want to make
it worse, they do it on a wooden table. And then all those sharp points start getting into the table, leaving marks. No, I would hate that. Hate to have that happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty much. This is like you roll these on a plastic top, or what do you call it? Like one of those cheap ass Walmart table tops. The kind that wrestlers throw each other through.
Or you'd be like a civilized person these days and actually carry a little dice tray.
Yeah, you could do a dice tray. And I mean, and some of these are really beautiful, man. I mean, seriously, it's like these pirate dice are sharp, dude. I mean, look at that. But those edges, man, I don't know about those.
It looks like someone got really ambitious, like trying to paint and be fancy, and they didn't thin their paints down.
Uh-huh.
They didn't go easy. No, they're just like laying out thick, like right out of the pot.
Yeah, kinda. But $50, I mean, that's a bit much for me. That's a bit much for me.
See that?
Yeah, those are a bit much. There's these Sylvan Weaver sets. These are like 100 right here, and these are amethyst. They're really beautiful, but it's another case of they're so nice I can't use them. They're so nice I can't use them. Look at that. I think beautiful though.
I mean, they're nice. Like if I knew someone who's like elf was their aesthetic, like they lived, breathe, and like I'm an elf. They live to be like the elf chick at the Renaissance Festival, like 50 weeks out of the year. That'd be the perfect gift for them. But I could just go to like D&D Dice or Q Workshop and get something that kind of fits that aesthetic better for half the cost.
Yeah. Ugh, Bronzite Imperial Purple. Everything that's purple, of course, sells for more because everybody likes purple. But, oh my God, those look good. But Jesus, no, I wouldn't roll those. No way. No way.
Oh no. Look how terrible that is. Like look at the 0 and the 20.
Uh-huh.
Oof.
Okay, I'm just hurting myself looking at this, so I'm gonna stop. But
T-shirt, you got those retro cartridges you should be buying instead.
I should be buying those retro cartridges instead because they cost about the same. Oh my gosh. DM Blackwell, you've painted custom metal dice for commission? Yeah, I bet. It's probably some good money in that. Mal, you have $500 in steel dice you got over the years and you never use them? Really? That's sad. The rule dice, yeah, they're cool, but if you have soft hands, they'll cut you. Yeah, some of those dice that are made by smaller manufacturers have those sharp edges, and those things are really fun, especially when you step on them.
Those are the type of dice that Hellraiser would give you for pleasure and pain.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, so Savo was saying she wanted to use a spinner. And I had mentioned that
spinner?
instead of rolling dice, roll a spinner.
And yeah, Magnificent Devils, yeah, gemstone dice are for show only. If you roll them, the crystals are likely to cleave if they hit the wrong way. Yeah. You don't want to break your dice. You do not want to break your dice. Not when they cost that much. Use a D20 as a slug and a 12 gauge. I discovered a YouTube channel not too long ago. There's this Russian guy that collects shotguns, and he reloads all the shotgun ammo and stuff like that. And I could see him using a D20 as a slug. Just for fun. I mean, especially if you asked him to. But yeah, it's just gamer luxuries, I guess.
I could see someone who does that, just fills everything up with dice. I mean, heck, I've got a lamp full of dice. I've seen people taking old, quarter gumball machines and fill those up with dice for a showpiece in their room. I really wouldn't be surprised to see some gun guy who's also into D&D just have a bunch of shells up on the wall.
Well, I got another bit of TTRPG news here. And I'm glad I've got DM Blackwall and Magnificent Devil and Driving and Dragons and Savo out there in the audience. So you guys can pay attention to this and tell me what you think, because this concerns somebody who is a friend of mine. So this one hits a little bit personal. But I'm going to share screen again. And okay. Our friend, our buddy, Harmony Ginger. She says, I had an oddly hostile encounter involving my game this weekend. She was at Dave Con. She was a guest of honor at Dave Con, actually, which is pretty cool.
Good for her.
Yeah. And she says, a guy asked me to explain it, so I did. And he said, so you force your players to create gods, referring to her Godstein games, right? Which are very popular with her players. And I mean, just look at that language. You force your players. That should give you the first clue to what kind of person this is. And her response is, well, no, they don't have to. They can play as PCs if they want. But you force them to create homebrew. There's that word again.
This is starting to sound like someone who's been trying to sell and is mad that he's seeing this as some competition for a book that he's trying to sell that no one's picking up.
Mm-hmm. Either that or he's seen her videos or he knows about her and he's deliberately trying to goad her or make her look bad to get some cred for himself or for his group or whatever.
That too.
But her response is, no, they can create as much or as little as they want. And then he says, it just sounds like an excuse for you to be lazy and do no work. Yeah, uh-huh. She says, I promise I prep and work on my campaign quite a lot. Then he says, no, you just admitted you make the players do it for you. And she goes on to say, it was weird and took me a few minutes to escape from that encounter. Not really sure why that happened. At first I thought he was joking with me, but I had a slow realization that he was serious and I had no idea how to handle it. Now, I mean, I responded, obviously, and, my thoughts on it are pretty plain. I think that person's an entitled piece of shit.
It sounds like someone who's ultimately played very few games and is basically just a D&D refugee who's, by and large, only played that, so they don't have any context for any other games. I mean, this is someone who's probably never played, games like Fabula Ultima or Godbound. I mean, there's a lot of other games out there that don't play by this same, bog standard way of well, here's how Gary played it back in the day type of stuff,
Well, I don't even get that it's a sense that he is any particular gamer. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't necessarily strike me as a D&D gamer. He doesn't necessarily strike me as a Pathfinder gamer. He doesn't necessarily strike me as being a any particular gamer. But his deal is, he thinks that he's one of these guys, I think, who sits back when he shows up to the game. He expects the DM to cater to his every desire and to accede to every concession that he demands from the GM. And I've GM'd for people like this before, so I recognize this kind of bullshit when I see it. This is the kind of guy who, when he games, he sits back at the table and he expects the GM to come prepared with an adventure and get his character involved and everything else. It's not a case of him going out and trying to make any kind of fun. He expects the GM to do it all for him, which means he's the kind of player who doesn't want to play a game so much as he views the situations the GM puts him into as obstacles to be overcome by the use of overpowered characters, using min-max or magic items, or straight up just by, flummoxing the DM with, well, you're the DM. It's your job to do what we want you to do.
Or possibly someone who wants to sit back and be entertained.
Yes.
But I mean, so what? I mean, look, the idea is the players are having some sense of agency and ownership in the world. Like, it's a really good way to get people invested in the world, knowing that
absolutely
their ideas have helped contribute to the shaping of the entire world. There is that bought in value to it that makes a person want to know more, want to be successful, want to spend more time in this world, because you don't quite know how all the things that you made are going to be played with and interacted with.
Magnuson he's also probably the kind of guy who has a problem with low or no prep games. I don't want to play in the game unless I know you have everything already planned out. Yeah. Basically, I kind of think he wants the damn game to be on rails. Kind of guy who should be in play-to-play games. Yeah. Okay. I've had two situations where I've met players like this. One, I ran multiple sessions for a group, and one player in it told me that I was running Pathfinder wrong. I wasn't doing it just like the book. He was expecting a totally different kind of game. He was not expecting what I was doing. Now, I don't profess to be the expert of Pathfinder rules and stuff. I'm good at it because I've played it a lot and I've run it a lot. But I'm like any other GM. I throw certain things out. I keep certain things. I change up certain things. I run it a different way. I don't think he was expecting as much role-playing as there was. I think he was more or less expecting lots of dungeon crawls with lots of tactical movement and min-maxed abilities and things like that. He wasn't expecting quite so much off the cuff. But yeah, he basically told me I was doing it wrong, and he bowed out on my game. And I'm just like, okay, well, fine. That's up to you. And the other time was at another player's table it was his house. And at some point, I think during the second or third game I was running for him, he flat out said to me in front of all the other players, well, the DM is just here to do what we want.
No.
Yeah, that really happened. So there is a core of players out there who really are entitled, and they think that just because they deign to play in a game with us, that they deserve everything that they desire. They're not playing it as an exercise in fun and character building and team enjoyment and laughing and everything else. They just pretty much want to win the game on the way they want to. They want you to tell the story that they want to be in, but they don't give you any instructions on how to do it. They just expect you to know.
It's it's a bit of a problem that is caused, I think, in part by the internet. Because we've seen so many videos, so many channels have popped up, like, here's how to play, and here's a lot of expectations for how a DM should operate, should behave. That
Mhm.
sort of leads to a lot of expectations of what ought be. I mean, and not all of it's brought on by these sort of bad actors in the hobby, but there's a lot of sort of tropes and jokes that we ourselves make about the hobby. I mean, the idea that there's jokes that like the DM's got to have hours and hours of prep and binders full of
Mhm.
stuff that they've been spending all this time painstakingly putting together, that we've perpetuated ourselves, and I think some people just buy it as what ought be.
I have seen another player, another GM who did the worst thing in my mind possible, and that is they ran a module, and their wife was in the game, and of course their wife had read the module, had pre-read it ahead of time.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, and so when we reached probably the best part of the treasure, of course, she immediately wanted to bogart that for herself because she knew exactly what it was worth and how good it was. I played in character and just pretended I didn't know about it or didn't want it or whatever. I don't remember what the deal was, but it was so obvious. It was bad. Worst DM advice ever. It's the DM's job to make sure everyone has fun. Yeah, the wife had read the modules. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it was a Pathfinder adventure too, I might add. I can't remember what the module was right now. I'd have to go look through the list. But I will say specifically what the deal was is there's a dead character that you find who is like from a civilization that came from before yours. And if your character interacts with the corpse, they become a member of that species, which means they get several, and I'm talking like at least 6 buffs to their stats, which is what she was actually after. She was after all of the character improvement stat buffs to make her character bigger, stronger, more powerful, and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, wow, that's pretty chicken shit, but
as much as I hate to say it, it might be one of those things. It's a case of it's probably worth calling it out at the table.
Yeah, except that I understand why he does it or why he did it, because one, he's that's his wife. He's got to sleep with her, and
True,
number two,
but...
and two is she is one of those players who will pitch a fit and all this other stuff if she feels like she's being shortchanged or doesn't get what she wants at the table. So I don't play with that group anymore.
Yeah, no, I couldn't see I couldn't see doing that too long. Or ultimately, I would have to probably get into the DM's chair and probably try to rein some control over it to try to balance things out a bit better. Or, also change what's in the module. Because if the problem is she's reading the modules, that because her boyfriend or her husband is has it at the house and she's looking through it.
Uh-huh.
If it's my book and I don't leave it with them, it eliminates that problem.
Well, it was their house. It was the husband's book, so But whatever, man. I mean, to me, it's almost like you're cheating yourself. But at the same time, it's still a dick move to pull on, because the other players at the table might have also had a chance at it. But whatever. I mean,
it's, and that's frustrating because it's taking
some
of the fun away from everyone else as well.
Uh-huh. Indeed it is. But yeah, these are all problematic behaviors. These are all kind of toxic players you don't want at your table. These are all people who are just unnecessarily confrontational and stuff. I suggested to Harmony that this guy who confronted her would basically be happy playing an AI version of an RPG. And I have a lot of experience with this because I play with them all the time because I like to feel them out. I like to see how they're set up. I like to see what they're going to generate. And sometimes they will impress me. But I mean, you know, when I say AI, I'm really talking about the large language models that, you know, are being passed off as AI. But anyway, those things, you can play them and they can set up a compelling story for you. And they can even have all kinds of little mechanics built into them, you know, like keeping track of your equipment and all this other stuff. But universally, one of the problems with all these AIs is you could bullshit them. I mean, you know.
The problem I have is also a limited memory to some of them, where I've, you know,
it doesn't remember things.
Exactly, where it'll revert to like the last thing or two I said and forget something that was, you know, said 5 minutes ago.
Yep. No, I've seen that happen too. That happens. Some of them are getting better about it, and some of them are actually have little windows where you can write in stuff that it is supposed to remember when it generates a response. So if you abuse that pretty judiciously, it stays kind of consistent. But the point is, it's like if I'm you know, dealing with an AI and it tells me, it's like, you have entered the orc village. There are 35 orc villagers here and they're armed and all this kind of stuff. What do you do? Then you could easily bullshit your way out of it by typing in something like, I pull out the 7.62 millimeter minigun that I had stored in my bag of holding, and I proceed to hose down the entire village until everything in it is dead. At which point the AI has to go from that prompt. Which means you basically just bypass, you bluff, bypass, whatever you want to call it. You bamboozled.
Yes,
yeah.
It's ultimately going to revert to, and assuming what you're saying is true. And frankly, it's so easy to bullshit and say like, I'm going to walk up to the orc I know who owes me his life, and convince him to tell the orcs to stand down and worship me.
I pulled one on it once because it wanted to set me up on this big quest to go and defeat this evil sorcerer thing off in the far off land and create the adventure all around me. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to do my own thing. So I typed in, and so my character crossed the lands, defeated the evil sorcerer king and took him down and brought his head back to the king. And just immediately it has to pick up and go from there because it's like, okay, you just totally bypass the entire story, but I'm good with that because I'm an AI and I'm nice. But I almost think that's the kind of person that, that wants that kind of game that they were describing to Harmony Ginger, where, it's like, oh, they don't want the GM to make them do anything at all.
I'm convinced that it's the best way to go is to you basically develop your own home model that you could run on your own software, your own computer. Basically do the neuro route.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, T-Shirt is like the top female streamer on Twitch.
Ooh.
And it's an AI girl.
Oh, cool.
Like insanely popular.
I imagine so, because it's AI. But part of me kind of wonders about this, and the reason I'm bringing it up is, one, because I don't like that bullshit against Harmony, and two, the other part of that is, hi Daniel, is
What's up?
Hey, the other part of that is that the kind of AI that the VTT is going to end up having at some point? Are you going to be able to bluff your way through the VTT or bullshit it? Because they're talking about AI DMs and all this.
Well, I mean, it really seems like the best move is to go back to sort of the Zork era.
Yeah,
model.
Yeah,
There's always going to be some way that you can manipulate it. There's always going to be some way that you can get around it. There's always going to be some way that you can disrupt the model. And that's just all there is to it. There's not really much of a way around that from a practical perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you've been listening in, so I mean, what do you think of the situation that Harmony ran into about this guy?
Well, I mean, I think flat out, I mean, if the guy doesn't to or already have any sort of like, I don't know, YouTube or, podcast or anything like that, if he has any of that or has an aspiration towards it, I think he's just trying to pick a fight with somebody who already has some presence and some visibility to boost his own. If he can get her into a fight, then he can boost his own credibility from being there. Exactly. Otherwise, I think he suffers from good old J. Scott Garabayitis, which, in other words, he's got an unhealthy obsession with Dungeons and Dragons in a very particular way, and it is almost like a brainworm to where there's a certain it's invalid. It's not just, it's like a religious doctrine that she somehow, or he feels that she somehow disrupts. It's not a rational thought. It's like I said, it's like some kind of brainworm. But the guy's off his damn rocker.
Yeah,
you can tell he's never been an actual game master, and you can tell because if he'd run the first damn game, even out of a pre-written module, he'd know he's talking out of his ass when he talks about the players doing everything. But like I said, that's my soapbox. One of my biggest soapbox. I got tons of videos on that. I call it toxic player agency. It is because the way the term first came to my mind was talking about all these conversations about quote unquote player agency spawned from this was a Facebook post actually. It's been years now since I saw it, but it was in a Facebook group. And there was literally an argument about how a game master was failing the group and was wrong and had done everything wrong and violated player agency because a player's character was bitten by a vampire and turned, failed their save and turned. And you didn't ask that player if they wanted their character to be turned by a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
and this is.
I also didn't. You also didn't ask me if I wanted my face to get smashed in by that orc's axe. But he still fucking rolled an attack, didn't he, dipshit? And it's an obsession. We like it's an overcorrection. In the early days, we did have kind of a GM versus player mentality, not because it was necessarily designed that way, but because the idea was that the game master was always going to go in with the correct mentality and the correct perspective. And he was given a lot of leeway. So the systems were adjusted, the games were adjusted, the way rules were written were adjusted to give the players more tools. Like an example I use is the power attack feat in 3.5. I got a 3.5 character. I have power attack. If the DM tells me I cannot use my power attack, he better have a damn good reason for it because there's a rule that says I get it. We overcorrected. And now these people think the game master is their damn Nintendo system that they plug a cartridge into and say, play my Final Fantasy game for me.
And the thing is, a lot of these type of characters will wind up. It's this story gamer mindset to players who think they're going to have this whole narrative arc to their characters that they're going to build up, and it's your job to play that out for them. Like they want to write the fan fiction, and they want to set up the fan fiction and have you run all of the encounters so that they can have the story play out like they want. And how dare you make changes to that idea that's in their head?
Well, I'm sorry. There's only one main character, and I got 5 players at my table. So guess who gets to be the main character? That's part of it. I kind of hate the applet story gamer. Just because I do believe these are, I'm very much a Hickman Revolution guy, and I'm very much a narrative game master. But you have these people who are like my personal story gamers, and that's not what this is. If you want to do that, get your lube out and go play one of those solo RPGs, because that ain't nothing but masturbation.
Yep.
Or get a damn video game. But the game master is a player unless you are paying him. The game master at the table is a player and is there just as much to have fun and enjoy the experience as everybody else as part of the group. He just serves a different role. And you cannot devolve power, like authority and power, away from the game master without disrupting the entire game. Because the instant the players have that game master's power, he gets that power because there's one of him. All right. He has the same amount of power over the rest of the world that each player has over their individual character, plus a little extra, so that it's a singularity. Everything's there. There's one person who adjusts things to keep the ship on going straight. When the players take over a portion of that power, it's like every single person piled into the driver's seat trying to steer the race car at the same time.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And, I'm sure you heard, my story about dealing with a player who pretty much said that, I'm the wish fulfillment machine for the group.
I'd be like, I sure hope your wish is to get your ass in your car and get the fuck out of my house. Excuse me.
Except that I was in his house, so it was more of a case of, I'm going to get in my car and get the fuck out of your house now, because obviously you want somebody else running your shit.
Yep. It's like,
and
how about this? The first mission is to kiss my ass.
Well, here's the dick thing right here too. Guys out there in the audience, y'all get ready for this, okay? Every game I ran for that guy and his group, that dude was on his phone from the minute the game started to the minute the game ended.
Of course he was.
Mm-hmm.
That had happened about 1.5 times with me. The first time it would have happened, and I'd have been like, hey, dude, you need to, if I'm going to run these games for you, you need to be part of this. I put a lot of work into this. You need to be a participant. If you don't want to play, that's fine. We'll watch movies or something when we all get together. But if we're going to do this, you need to be an active participant. Otherwise, you have to find somebody else to run it. And then when I got there the second time, the first time that phone was in his hand for something other than I'm using my Cyberpunk Red Character Tractor app to keep track of my ammunition, it would be, all right, what are you doing? Oh, I'm packing all my stuff up because you clearly don't want to play this game. Go back to Angry Birds.
Yeah, Magnificent Devil. You straight up ban phones at your table. If you need to take a call, please excuse yourself from the table and go to the Yeah, exactly. But a lot of these guys aren't even taking calls. They're just getting on their, scrolling their feed on, Insta or X or Facebook or whatever, or they're looking up jokes or they're watching shorts or, they're just doing all kinds of stupid shit on their phones that don't necessarily pertain to the games.
It's like I already want to strangle somebody every time I go through a drive-through because I see these dumbass kids that needed 16 times to take my freaking order because they got headphones in and are goofing off on their phone when they're supposed to be at work. I'm sure as hell not putting up with that in my leisure time with somebody who I don't have to deal with to get a burger.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know,
have
man.
Some damn manners.
Well, that's the thing. Gamer culture has changed, and I think that we are probably the last, dying breed of gamers who still have some respect for the GM, for the game, and for the way the game is played. And that's probably one of the reasons why we get into such heated arguments and why we, throw stones at each other so much, because we are very passionate about our hobby. Whereas, I don't know, I'm not necessarily poking at millennials, but, maybe Gen Z or whatever the hell came after millennials, whatever's grew up, watching Critical Role and all that stuff. They're just cut from a different cloth, man.
drink.
They just are.
It's easy to blame that. It's easy to talk about, oh, these people came up on Critical. I can't remember who. I think it might have been. I can't remember whose video it was that they said this, where they're talking about the people who were raised on Critical Role, the people who learned how to do their game mastering from Dimension 20 and all this stuff. And I basically call bullshit on that. Because first off, manners are available out there, because I'm going to tell you right now, the second you accidentally offend one of them with their 14,000 triggers, they suddenly become experts on etiquette and behavior and on what's rude and what's not rude. So they know the rules. They just don't follow them. But when it comes to a lot of this, I think this is the ultimate penalty for 4E. All right. 4E was a perfect storm, right? Worst possible time it could have happened, because it caused a massive malaise in the hobby and in gaming. And basically it ran a bunch of people out right before 5E came along and pulled a bunch of people back in. And like I was saying earlier today on my video you mentioned earlier in story time, that's why it made me think of the Oldsmobile 442, because when it kind of faded out of existence and became just like a specialty trim package and some graphics that you would get in the late 70s and 80s, everybody it was still there and people still kind of knew about it, but 442 went away. And then it came back in the 90s as this little 4-banger grocery getter that said 442 on it. And if you had never experienced, the car, and for those who don't realize this is what it is, for those who never experienced the car that Sylvester Stallone and Sandra Bullock tore ass through the city in Demolition Man.
Oh yeah.
That was what 442 was. It's like, well, why would you be mad that this is called 442? It's exactly what it says it is. It's a higher performance version of what we got. That's what you got with 5E. These people came in and got into the hobby in 5E, started playing in 5E, and the only example they had was this style of play that is kind of heavily influenced by Critical Role and stuff, because they don't look at it and see that it's an entertainment program. Matt Mercer is not a DM. He plays a DM on YouTube. He's no more a DM. Now, he probably is in his personal life when he's playing by himself and just him and his friends, not with a camera on. But he is as much a DM as Hugh Lowry was a doctor on the episodes of House.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, that's can't dispute that. But anyway, yeah. I think that's, like I said, thought that was pretty shameful behavior for somebody to do that to Harmony, of all people, too. Obviously, I think it was somebody who knew her, knew what her reputation was, knew about her gaming, or had watched her YouTube videos because of, they knew about her doing, the Godsteins and everything. So I think they were either just looking for clout, or they were looking to kind of show her up, to score some social cred with their friends or whatever.
They saw a safe target, because Harmony is, well, for one, she's a girl, so they're gonna oh well, she's a girl, I can go pick on her. And Harmony is just, almost unreasonably gracious.
Yes, she is.
She tries to give everybody the benefit of every single doubt and will let people get away with just about anything. She will find a way to remove herself from a situation rather than fight back. So you got a guy who's like, yeah, this is a safe target. I'm going to go jump all over her. And the worst I'm going to get is some people that jump in to yell at me in her comment section, and I'll just call them Sims.
Yeah, exactly. He must be a good ally and go after someone who's dared to step on and go against the groove.
And I don't know. Maybe it's just because she's a friend. Maybe it's because, she's a woman. But, that kind of stuff, really makes my hackles rise up. And I guess it's that primal male instinct to, defend the women kind of pops up, I guess. And, but
you can have that, but it's also the look at who you're picking on thing. It's like when somebody we all know that person in life, and there's probably 100,000 like, examples of like famous people or something. It's like, why the hell are you picking on that person? They don't bother anybody. They're nice to absolutely everyone. They never say the first wrong word about anybody. I mean, for Christ's sake, she just went and played a game with a couple of guys who were trying to sue her and called her everything but Christian because she dared to play a game a way they like to play. So it's like, there's this person. It's like, no, go. Pick on me. I'm an asshole. I piss off a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
All right, come. At least if you come mess with me, there's going to be a healthy number of people sitting over there like, yeah, he deserves it.
Pretty much. And with your abilities, I'm pretty sure if things got physical, there wouldn't be anything you couldn't handle. But I don't get it. I mean, I think people try to pick out Harmony as some kind of target. Not just because she's a woman, but I mean, maybe they feel threatened by her because she is very intelligent, and she is good looking. And I mean, I've said it more than once. From the moment I first brought her on the show, because I got to talk to her backstage a little bit beforehand. I knew she was going to be a big player. I knew she was going to be a big hit. I knew people were going to like her. And, I called it. I put her on my show and, bam, she's bigger than me by far. And I'm proud of her for it.
Yeah. So. She's unobjectionable. She knows what she's talking about. And she's really the anti-Jenny D.
Yes,
is what
she is. She is.
Jenny D is fake in every regard, including how she treats people. Because by all accounts, from people who've known her from other walks in life, she's a conniving, selfish bitch and has bad attitudes with everybody, but she plays little sweet girl next door, and it's cookie cutter D&D stuff. And if you ever try to challenge her, she's going to block you and then talk about how you're some kind of istphobe or blah, 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 and she's going to do that kind of crap. Harmony, on the other hand, really knows her stuff. Not only knows her stuff, but comes out and says, hey, I've read this, I've researched this is my thoughts on it, but I'm interested to hear your opinions and thoughts because I don't know everything and I have questions. Then she asks questions genuinely. If you bring something up or challenge her, she's just as likely to genuinely ask you questions because she wants to know. And you get somebody who is genuinely a very nice person and who isn't putting on some kind of bullshit fake front. And I would say that I think she's got 10,000 followers right now.
Harmony
on I think she have 10,000 subs on YouTube right now. Or she blown up even further than
that. You know what? I'm curious. I haven't even looked at her stats lately, but let me look real quick. I know she blew past me a long time ago, but
oh yeah, I mean she was at 7,500 a while back.
She's up to 4.66K.
4.66. So she's at 4,600. Okay, I thought she was at 7,500. But either way, it still just makes the same point I'm making here. Her 4,600, I guarantee you that she has a stronger actual base in her 4,600 than Jenny D does in her 250,000. 99.99% of Jenny D's 250,000 are basically just kind of 5e fanboys and people who want to see a girl in green hair, and they're nothing. She doesn't have a real support base there. Yeah, she doesn't have a real support base there. Whereas I would say that out of Harmony's group, you probably got a good 10-15%, if not more, of her 4,600 people who, if she said, I'm moving to another apartment or to another condo, would probably show up with trucks to help her.
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true.
And not even ask for a case of beer. That ain't me. If I come down there, she's getting some booze. I ain't moving heavy shit without beer.
Sava says, I guarantee that Harmony would rather not have people fuss over her drama. It is the thing that will encourage her to quit sharing her advice if it means she will be the cause. Well, yeah, that's true, Savo. But I mean, in this case, I really do think it was something that needed to be addressed, because what that guy did was mean-spirited, and it was obviously meant as some sort of an attack or a bullying tactic. You know, and I think Harmony's smart enough to see it for what it was, but at the same time, it aggravates me that this is a friend of mine, and, you know, you picked on a friend of mine, and that shit will get me mad pretty quick. Simps.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think she would object too much to this kind of, quote, fussing over her drama.
Yeah.
I think she would object to a bunch of us going and like mass reporting and bombing this dude's X profile and dragging him through the mud for, you know, weeks on end on X and on Facebook and doxing him and that kind of stuff. But simply saying, hey, look, this guy's a jerk and Harmony handled it the right way, I don't really think she would fuss too much about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, she didn't. First off, it happened to her live, so it didn't, you know, or in person. It's not something that happened on X or any other social media platform, you know. So it's not somebody to dox or anything else, you know, which is good, because I wouldn't encourage anybody to go do it anyway. Because I mean, you're just giving that guy exactly what he was after, which is the visibility by being a dickhead and challenging her, you know, in a public venue.
Yeah. I don't know how I somehow missed that. For some reason, I was thinking that he hit her DMs or something.
No.
Or like it hit her on a string.
No, it was right there. It was at Dave Con. Apparently, it was some walk-up guy who did it. So.
Well.
Yes. Captain Harlock.
Captain Harlock. All right, gents. We're almost an hour and a half in. I think we had some really good, strong discussion going on. We had plenty of TTRPG discussion. So, y'all think it's a good time to go ahead and shut her down? I mean, we've got plenty of other stuff to talk about too, Ironcaster. I know, because we got the CMON deal. We still haven't gotten around to looking at the SRD, which, yeah, obviously that nobody cares about it now because it's already it's 2 or 3 weeks past, but still, there's that.
Well, no, the reason why people don't care about it is because it's 2015 D&D.
That also, yeah.
No, but, besides, like, honestly, there's bigger things we could talk about. Like, there's a new Gundam series, or, you know, maybe I could get you to finally watch 'Tis Time for Torture Princess.
Well, maybe if you let me know about it and I check it out before Saturday.
I've been avoiding the new Gundam series.
What was that?
I do not want it. I do not want it to piss me off.
I'm enjoying.
And even if it doesn't piss me off, it's going to cost me a kidney, though.
Oh,
because they're going to release a bunch of brand new Gunpla that I got to pay like $200 for.
Yes.
Okay, it's great. They're basically, they got the Evangelion team in to animate a Gundam show. Plus, it's playing with a lot of the familiar older elements of the Universal Century, so we're getting the sort of a what-if timeline. So ultimately, if it's bad, we can just ignore it because it's off in its own little universe. If it's good, maybe we'll get more going forward.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, that is the only century that matters in Gundam.
You know what the interesting thing is? Despite the fact that, you know, I know that Yoshiyuki Tomino is behind the Gundam stuff, the Gundam franchise, they say that the estimated annual revenue of the Gundam franchise is over $1 billion. But they don't actually say what Yoshiyuki Tomino's net worth is, which is something I kind of wonder.
I wonder how much of that he actually receives and how much is the company's, because it's all ultimately Bandai Namco.
It's Bandai Namco.
Which, by the way, you know, with Gundam in mind, I think Games Workshop might need to be a little worried.
Oh?
The Gundam tabletop game is coming.
Oh boy.
And
what kind of Gundam tabletop game?
It's called Gundam Assemble, and it's a tabletop war game with minis on little hex grids. So Trust me. Save your money from the model kits and start building your army. Because
I don't want to buy a bunch of minis. Do you have any idea how long I've avoided that crap?
Nah, dude, come on.
I got conned into Mage. I got conned into playing Mage Knight as a teenager.
Oh, I loved Mage Knight.
You want to have the wing Gundam on your bed.
I don't want to have no damn wing Gundam. Get that after-century garbage out of my house.
Oh my God, we've got a Dash.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Did we summon you with our talk?
No, I just got home from D&D. How's it going?
Yeah.
Good, man. You missed our...
He's shaking all of us out of our corners. Yeah. That's what he's doing. He's just doing stuff to make sure we all get shook out of our little hiding spots. I stayed hidden in the comments for a good 45 minutes. He had to start talking about jackass players in D&D.
Oh, was that that's from the Tau, that unit?
Yeah, it's a crude hound. You didn't catch that? Yeah, hang on. Let me put that back up so you can see it. Yeah. It's like
yeah. I don't Tau is like one of the factions I know like the least about. So like I know they're like supposed to be space communists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this: you will certainly not regret fielding 250 crude hounds. You won't win a battle, though. You will not win. You will not win a single battle because
they
can't take objectives. Yeah, they're low points, but they can't take any objectives. They're very weak. It's like, don't take 250 crude hounds. You will lose. But I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. You did see, yeah. We did hit the Nintendo tariff situation, or the Nintendo Switch situation a little bit earlier too.
Oh yeah, I did manage to actually secure a pre-order.
How much did you have to pay? $500? $600?
No, I got the non-Mario Kart bundle, but between tax and the fact that I pre-ordered the Sidon amiibo, also, it ended up around 500. But the system itself, like, they were out of the Mario Kart bundle. So
of course they were.
I almost got the Mario Kart bundle. I almost got it had I gotten to the GameStop a little bit sooner.
How many of those things you got scarfed up by scalper bots?
Oh, I'm telling like it's impossible to get one now.
It is impossible to get one, but it was impossible to get PS5s for the longest time too.
I mean, that was scalpers using bots, and thanks to AI, it's only gotten worse.
Yeah, like it's so weird that I had better luck going to a physical store to get the thing than I did trying to get it online. I was up till 2 a.m. and felt like shit.
I thought it was funny. Back when PS5 and
you missed us finishing off the Ant Queen for our D&D game.
Oh, we're done with our D&D game?
Yeah, it basically went until we took care of a big thing, and they decided to go push for it. So you got 1,000 gold out of it. And by the way, T-shirt, we're looking at Fabula Ultima tomorrow.
I knew it.
Thursday.
I knew it.
So does that mean so we're doing Fabula Ultima instead of D&D?
Yeah,
you'll like it. You'll like it.
Oh, I think I will. I'm such a big Final Fantasy nut. I'm sure I'll like it.
I mean, if you're any kind of an anime nut, you will like it. But I see so many possibilities for Fabula Ultima. I am a member of the creator's Patreon just because I was curious to see what extra materials he had, and I'm also on their Discord, and there's kind of a lot of politics that go back and forth on it, so I just kind of try to stay out of that stuff.
Yeah.
The thing is, right? It's really not a surprise at outright because publicly outward, he just doesn't really say much about it at all. Yes, he's gonna love Fabula. But the thing is, if you actually look at his profile picture, it is like the raised communist fist.
Yeah, I mean,
so
he doesn't hide it, but he doesn't make it part of the work or
Yeah.
make it part of like essentially marketing for the game. So I don't mind giving him money.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Professional leftist. Nice.
Well, I mean, he's not Coyote and Crow.
Oh.
That's Ironcaster's hot button topic. Come on, Ironcaster,
Indian
that's your game.
Indian Wakanda.
But aren't you an Indian? You should be happy to play that. You'll be the only one playing it because the rest of us aren't allowed.
No, he had to go out and basically tell people, don't worry, it doesn't have to be a shelf princess. You can play it. It's okay. You can wear red face.
Oh, red face.
That actually reminds me. I'm gonna do a freebie plug for somebody who might not ever hear it.
It's gonna be for me.
I know a game that I would really like to see some people get together and play. I've actually been meaning to run it myself.
Condor GM's game.
Fuck no. It's called Colonies and Conquerors. It's a game. There's a small publisher called Spirit Bear Studios who made it. It's an entirely bespoke system, and I think he actually did his own art for the book, for his book too. But and he's got I think he's got a supporting card game too. But one of the things that kind of strikes me about it, I did a review on it a couple of years ago, and it's Age of Sail, which you just don't see a lot, or really any Age of Sail games. It's literally Conquistador, Columbus, Jamestown, Roanoke era role playing. And, like his casters and stuff tend to be more like native medicine men and, Christian missionaries and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool looking game. It's actually had a usable firearm system too.
Colonizers of Catan.
Look, that's what I play. I don't do Settlers of Catan. Conquerors of Catan.
Well, now it's just Catan. I was actually kind of surprised. I used to think Catan was like niche, but then I started hearing more and more like kids playing it. And I'm just kind of like, oh, really? So it's gone mainstream, huh?
Yeah. But no, like I said, that's a cool little game. Like I said, I know it's Spirit Bear Studios, and I know you can find it by Googling that, and that game is Colonies and Conquerors, and it looks pretty cool. And like I said, I've read through it several times. I just haven't ever gotten around to getting a group together to play it.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of games I'd like to get together to play, but it's just between time and having to learn the systems and then trying to get everybody on board to play it and everything like that. I'm pretty sure I've disgruntled Grim just because it's like, yeah, I derailed his, switching games out every week for playing a steady campaign of Fabula Ultima, which I think he's actually enjoying, and I know the players are enjoying it. And
T-shirt, that's your mistake. You made him enjoy something. Look at Grim. Does Grim look like he's ever legitimately enjoyed something? He is the personification of Grumpy Cat.
Yeah, he kind of is, but at the same time, I think everybody's having fun because, and I'm not shitting on Grim because he's one of my best friends, obviously. But as much as I enjoyed playing the one shots, as much as I enjoy the one shots, the problem is when he does run a one shot that's really good and really fun and entertaining using a system that you like Fabula Ultima in this case, he would just, move on to the next thing, and maybe it's not as fulfilling and maybe it's not as much fun. And, I'm just kind of like, wow, I really wish we could have pushed that other game like a few more sessions just to see how it played out and everything. But we never got that until I pushed him. So
I think my biggest issue is that my gaming groups are still 100% me playing for fun as a hobby, and I don't, mine them for content or look for reviewing game systems. And I'm even very hesitant to go to a group and be like, all right, we're going to test my D30 system now. I always go up, I'm like, hey, the next campaign that's coming up, a few more sessions here. We can either continue on to the adventures here or pick one of these games. Would you guys like to play, D&D, Oriental Adventures, Cyberpunk, Call of Cthulhu. What would you guys like to do? And I usually let them pick. And I'll have some of these games, like Colonies and Conquerors, in the list. They just don't get picked.
I remember.
And tell them we're playing L5R.
Oh, I tell you what's funny. As a change of pace, to the same guy who was on his phone all the time and said that the DM was just there to wish fulfill for them. I changed up things and I started running Vampire 20. And lo and behold, the other players were actually enjoying it. He was the only one who hated it. And his comment about it was, "Man, the lore is so messed up." And I'm just like, are you kidding me? The lore is so super mega deep that, you could get lost in it. There's books written about it. There's people who just pore over that stuff.
You're playing monsters. Yeah, the lore is going to be messed up.
Uh-huh. But my win when I left that table was one of the players approached me and said, "Hey, where do you get that game? Because I want to run that for some of my friends and cousins and stuff." So it's like, win. I made a convert to V20, and I'm happy. So there we go.
Well, my people cycle through 3.5 D&D, Call of Cthulhu 7th edition, and Cyberpunk Red at the moment, just depending on what we're doing or where we're doing it. And then we played Everyday Heroes not too long ago, and we played a few other things. I had some people play Cyberpunk 2020. That was fun to throw that in front of a couple of brand new TTRPG newbies and a couple of old school guys who had flashbacks of Shadowrun.
Mm-hmm. God, I used to enjoy Shadowrun, but I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if somebody else had ran it, because the GM who ran it for us, she made it fun, and she kind of, she was willing to go with all kinds of ideas, and we laughed, we had a good time, we didn't take it too seriously, and it was great. And yes, we literally, I bought 2 bricks of D6s because I had characters who almost used all of them.
I was just about to say, you do realize that the game's not actually Shadowrun. Everybody always misses the ellipse that comes after Shadowrun. The game is Shadowrun and grab some more D6s.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Well, all right, guys. It's getting a bit late. I'd like to close up shop, but thank you all for coming on, and thank you all for hanging out with us in the chat. We do appreciate it, and we hope we will see you on Saturday with the Week in Geek, where we have a more proper TTRPG with discussion, usually, kind of. I believe we're actually going to have a guest this weekend. We're going to have Chubby Funster on, so you guys are going to want to be on for that. Because if you've never seen a Chubby Funster product or his game, you absolutely need to, because it's worth your money. It's worth your time to check out. The equipment tables alone make picking up his stuff worth it. No joke. I've reviewed them several times. You can go back and check out my videos on his stuff, and yeah, they're absolutely worth it. They'll expand your game like you wouldn't believe. But yeah, no kid. Yeah, you have all his Shadow Dark supplements. I'm working on getting all his Shadow Dark supplements because they're that good. And they really add a lot to Shadow Dark, which is kind of the key word for gaming around nowadays, You want to make a big video, put out a Shadow Dark video.
Pretty much magic word for the algorithm.
It is the magic word for the algorithm, but
Used to be Mercer. He said,
hey. Well, now Kelsey's like, what? She made $3 million on that last Kickstarter?
Yeah, did good.
Uh-huh. I mean, that ain't chicken feed in my world.
That ain't chicken. Well, that's actually enough money to really fund a Kickstarter, because like old Luke over at DM Layer had pointed out, to anybody who actually has half a brain and has ever looked into this stuff, ain't none of these people ever have enough money in their Kickstarter to actually fund their projects. They're hoping to get 3 to 4 times what their goal is, so that they can break even before they start shipping stuff out.
Yep.
Cool, man, you're not.
Yeah, CMON. We're gonna get on to CMON next time because I have some personal investment in the CMON stuff, but I also have some good news in the CMON stuff, at least for me, but maybe not for other people.
I have no clue what the CMON stuff is, so I'll be ready to be educated.
All right. Well, we'll teach you about it. But until then, y'all take care, and we will see you on Saturday on The Week in Geek. Till then, have a great week.
See ya.